Why hello there, how are you doing this fine day today? I hope it's good because in today's video, we are back on Oblivion Remaster, looting dungeons, fighting bad guys, and helping people all across Cyrodiil, so go grab a snack and settle in as we dive back into Tamriel. On the last episode, we obtained the powerful spell Fingers of the Mountain from the translation Irana gave us, came across these two statues with these weird glowing foreheads, helped that one dude's two sons take back their farm, gave the Amulet of the Kings to Joffrey and was tasked with finding the Emperor's only remaining heir, made our way to Skingrad and met this stuck-up rich dude, and finally helped a local resident with his paranoia problem. There's still plenty for us to do to help prevent the Oblivion crisis, so without further ado, let's jump back into some Oblivion Remaster. Loading into my save, the first thing I did was grab all my belongings to take with me to my new castle. I hadn't lived in this little waterfront home for long, but will miss being so close to the Imperial City. The convenience of shopping and the abundance of those little mushrooms made life here in the Imperial City simple, but with me being entrusted with that amulet and those hellish gates opening up everywhere, it just wasn't the time for a simple life, so I proceeded to say my goodbyes to my little waterfront home for now, and head on over to the market district to purchase my castle furnishings. The Merchant's Inn was unsurprisingly empty at this time of day. I still had plenty of gold left over after buying all of the furniture due to my ability to create hundreds of potions in mere seconds, so went shopping for some more luxury purchases. My first stop was Rindir's Staffs, where I purchased Apotheosis, an extremely powerful staff that does 33 points of damage in fire, frost, and shock damage all at once. A blast from this staff was even more powerful than the mysterious spell Fingers of the Mountain I had acquired from Irana earlier, however due to its extreme power, runs out of charges very quickly. Rindir also had this display here that was locked requiring a key to open, so I moved around for a bit trying to find a good spot to pickpocket him for the key, when all of a sudden he just kind of walked over and unlocked the display himself, while trying to find me because I was sneaking, I'm assuming. I'm not sure what really happened here. It was a really weird glitch. Usually when you're hidden in stealth, the NPCs will walk over to you, so you're no longer hidden and can't steal. This is what seems to have happened here. I just absolutely have no idea why he unlocked his display case for me. Oh well, I'm not sure why he locked this stuff up anyways, because it was just a bunch of everyday normal clothes. Like, they weren't even enchanted or anything special. Anyways, my next stop was Divine Elegance, a luxury clothing store. I happened to stop in at the perfect time apparently, because the shop owner showed me one of her very special inventory items, the Quicksilver boots, a pair of glass boots that when worn, increases my agility and speed while decreasing my armor skills. I proceeded to purchase and then equip these powerful Quicksilver boots, and quicksilvered my way over to the next store that caught my eye, the Gilded Carafe, an alchemy store. This is my first time in this shop, as I usually head on over to the main ingredient for my alchemy supplies, but I have to say, after seeing the interior and checking out the inventory, I think I might now be a customer of the Gilded Carafe in the future.
Seems to me some things are worth paying full price for.
Speaking of the inventory, the shopkeep showed me a very special item for sale in her possession, the Birthright of Astalon, a powerful light-armored cuirass that provides an additional 50 points of magicka and 5 levels of agility when worn. I couldn't quite afford it just yet, so after a quick mushroom supply trip, I was the proud owner of my new powerful magic booster cuirass. While nearby the arena, I met Glarthir 2.0 Imperial City Edition.
I think someone is watching me. I see figures in the shadows all the time.
And then debated returning the bands I stole earlier when I saw those two trainees outside again. Despite having a powerful staff and my mana problem under control, I decided not to return the bands, but instead keep them for myself, as I might still need them, or at the very least they would make a nice monument in my castle. While taking a bath, I was interrupted by none other than Glarthir 2.0, who pretended like he didn't see me at all. Not this again. I hope he doesn't attack me like Glarthir did just a couple of days ago. I can't deal with all these paranoid people. I'm still out here enjoying my last night in the Imperial City that I'll have for a while, when I was approached by a dark elf named Ryza Narvalo, who informed me that her husband Gillen sent her to find me specifically and to meet him in Cyrodiil's house in the Temple District. Cyrodiil's house is literally not even 5 feet away, so I went inside and was greeted by Cyrodiil himself. He seems to have heard of me, despite me having accomplished, like, nothing really noteworthy. He's all like, your reputation precedes you and stuff, I don't know. Maybe he's talking about when that dude's 2 sons died, I'm not sure. Anyways, he mentioned that it wasn't safe to speak on the streets and tells me to follow him in the basement, that it's safer to speak down there. Down in the basement, I noticed 2 others, an Argonian named Greythroat, and Gillen, the husband of Ryza, the Dark Elf who was sent to retrieve me. Cyrodiil tells me that they make up an organization called the Order of the Virtuous Blood, and that their organization was created in order to hunt down and exterminate any vampire threats within the Imperial City. He also mentions, like, that they haven't been successful in finding even a single vampire. Like, how bad are these guys at vampire hunting? I mean, this guy just walks around looking for vampires, but never thought that the pink guy that stays up all night collecting mushrooms looks suspicious at all. But yeah, I guess he's found a vampire now, some dude named Roland Genseric, that he saw get into a physical confrontation with a woman, and upon returning a bit later, discovered the woman dead with puncture marks in her neck. Cyrodiil wants me to head to Roland's house in the Imperial City and see if I can discover any leads to his whereabouts. While talking to Gillen for information, Cyrodiil just kind of like froze in place and gave me this freaking crazy death stare. I head on over to Roland's house and find a note from his girlfriend telling him to meet her in a cabin in the woods off east somewhere. I also took a second to pour myself a drink at this badass bar he had downstairs in his basement, but ended up staying down here pretty much the whole night. The sun had risen by the time I left Roland's house, so I chugged a sobriety potion and headed on over to the market district to finish my shopping from yesterday. I hit expert level in Mercantile and just wanted to point out that this level up perk is actually pretty useless now with the gold vendor changes. I mean, I can see why people didn't like the original way vendor gold worked, but Mercantile is kind of obsolete now in some ways. Anyways, I stopped by Jensine's place to see how she was and purchased a powerful ancient enchanted Akaviri Warblade, as well as a powerful Akaviri Sunderblade over at the Three Brothers Trade Goods. My shopping itch had been thoroughly scratched at this point, and with no more other important issues at hand, totally not supposed to be finding the Emperor's heir and a bunch of other stuff, finally began my trek back to my castle. However, there was just one thing I had to do. One thing before I could fully settle in and find a peace. An annoyance that had been at the back of my mind since it happened that I just had to address. And so after a quick detour to Skingrad, I soon found myself with that slimeball from earlier, the happiness-deprived scumbag who dared to call me low birth. I didn't speak a word to him, but instead dropped all that expensive crap I had just spent the last week obtaining all over his floor, really made sure he saw all of it before murdering him in cold blood right before he made it to his door. No one will ever call Edgard a low birth. I am the almighty pink mage. No one will ever stop me. Anyways, yeah, after I calmed down a bit, I realized I now had a dead body to deal with, but first made sure to pick up all my expensive stuff and then got to work. I barely got him to the basement door when a guard randomly entered the house.
May you rest in peace. It's all over, lawbreaker.
I'm sitting here thinking he must somehow seen me through a window or something, but no, I just have a 40 gold bounty somehow, despite there only being 2 people in this house. One of them is dead, and I was literally moving his body when the guard walked in. There's probably signs of a struggle too, but no, just a 40 gold bounty, which I proceeded to pay, and yeah, no jail time or nothing. Literally walked away scot-free. I mean, the air did get pretty chilly and felt pretty weird, like right after I killed that dude, but I'm sure it was nothing. I did also lose all my stolen items, and now's when I felt really bad about not returning the bands to the rightful owners earlier, as they were now just sitting in Skingrad Castle's evidence room and couldn't be used by anyone. I went back to the guy's house just to double check his basement for loot, and while I didn't find any loot, I did find this docile rat just chilling down here, and some like really moldy bread. Like, why does he keep this? I was pretty tired at this point, as I hadn't slept in quite a while, and also had that night of drinking at Roland's bar earlier, so I decided to catch some Z's at the Mages Guild. When I awoke, I was greeted by a hooded figure named Lucien Lechance, who tried to recruit me to a group of assassins called the Dark Brotherhood. I guess the Night Mother, some godlike entity the Dark Brotherhood worships, witnessed my murder and sent Lucien to recruit me. He wants me to hunt down an old man by the name of Rufio at the Inn of Ill Omen, south of the Imperial City. It's nighttime now, so traveling is a bit safer. I'm making my way towards my castle finally. When out in the middle of the wilderness, I spot some invisible woman, who I follow for a bit until we come across the deer that she just begins absolutely massacring with her bare hands. I also came across the Minotaur, which I thought would be a harder fight, but after it got slowed down by my frost spell, I was able to find this nice rhythm to its attacks. It basically took no damage. Nearing my castle now, and it seems that the bandits or marauders will just spawn out here sometimes, as there was a new gang of bandits stationed outside that I had to deal with. I landed a killing blow uppercut on this Khajiit here that looked pretty badass. Upon entering my newly furnished castle, I took some time to explore. However, it wasn't long before one of my men-at-arms interrupted me with a message saying to return to that guy that I bought the furniture from, to have him also install an ancient dwarven forge in the castle, for another hefty price, of course. Also, I think one of my men-at-arms might be a psychopath, because the dude is literally sleeping with a metal helmet on. Oh, and a sword and shield, let's not forget that. Like, he's just sleeping. Let's just leave that guy for now. It's probably for the best, and head on over to my private quarters, where I can begin some unpacking. In the middle of me moving all my stuff, this random woman walked in and offered me various services, such as food and drink. However, the implications of her, and only her, being the only NPC that walks into my private quarters was a bit odd. I just wanted her to leave because I was worried she was going to knock over all of my effort and time decorating. I even showed her the door kindly, but alas, I would have to work around this obstacle for now. Decorating in Oblivion is a real pain sometimes, just because the slightest movement can knock over the bowl I'm putting stuff in, or knock something off a table that I had placed there. I spent the next couple of hours, and yes, I mean real life hours, decorating. Two interesting things to note: I actually own a hardback and softback copy of the book The Firmament, and I damaged stone with my bare fists. Oh, I guess it's three interesting things, but I also have a basically unlimited supply of blood here, as the man-at-arms will rotate schedules, and there is usually someone sleeping at all times of the day here in my castle. Down in the castle basement, I found out that we have a winemaker that works for us, who can make me specialty wines if I bring him the required ingredients. We also have a taxidermist who will make trophies for the castle. She works over in the East Wing and gave me a list of materials to bring her to create the trophies. Both of these features really interested me, so I took a quick trip outside to see if I couldn't find some of the ingredients or materials. I found myself back at that one fort with the tree growing through the middle of it, and those two statues with glowing foreheads that I stumbled across earlier. It was repopulated with enemies, the toughest variety at this point, as I'm now level 20. My first fight was against a spider Daedra that I just barely managed to defeat. My biggest problem was that I just didn't have enough damage to overcome her healing without my bands and only cold touch. Enough brute force plus my scamp, and we finally managed to get the job done, and soon enough I was back at those two statues with glowing foreheads again. I did actually Google what to do here, and apparently there are two silver arrows that are supposed to spawn in a quote-unquote obvious location. Sometimes they just didn't spawn though, as I had to leave the fort and re-enter just to get them to spawn. But yeah, you're supposed to pick up the arrows and shoot them at the statue dude's forehead and the gates will open. I was pretty cautious about proceeding, especially knowing that the enemies are max level now, but remembered my staff, Apotheosis, and charged headfirst Doom Guy style into the next room, and quickly disintegrated both a Conjurer and freaking Daedroth in a matter of seconds. My staff did completely lose its charge, but wow, this thing does pack a punch. One of the toughest Daedra around in all of Oblivion got absolutely melted in seconds. I could have left the fort now, as I had some Daedroth claws for the trophy maker, but decided to pursue any loot farther deeper inside the fort. I did come across another Daedroth very soon after the first, but luckily he was way too big to fit through this doorway, and could only cast fireballs at me, which I usually absorbed. This was also really good destruction training too, as I still needed levels for 75, which is expert level, in order to cast my powerful spell, Fingers of the Mountain. The rest of the fort actually didn't go too bad, as it was mostly just conjurers, and they dropped staffs that were actually decently powerful that I ended up using to help clear out the fort. I also found these sneaky blue suede shoes on this one conjurer, and after looting, was greeted face to feet with said conjurer. At least the shoes are cool. I'm about to loot the final chest, but get caught by a booby trap. After returning to the chest, there's like another booby trap right in front of the chest. Not only is it super obvious, but come on, who's gonna fall for 2 booby traps in a row? The loot was alright. I got a spell tome that taught me how to cast Soul Trap. Before heading back to my castle, I did explore one more cave on my way back, but nothing too interesting happened other than me crushing these 2 dudes with these rocks. I made it back to my castle and hand Melisi, the taxidermist, some Daedra teeth, and she tells me to return in 24 hours and the trophy will be finished. Well, it was some time to kill now, and the winemaker needing very special ingredients for his special wines, I decided to make a quick trip back to the Imperial City to go shopping for some of those ingredients, as I really wanted a couple bottles of this special wine to try for myself. On the way, I noticed that the one guy's son's bodies were like still just here chilling in the garden, which I thought was kind of weird since he mentioned burying them, but I guess whatever. I wonder how long their bodies will stay on the farm like this. Shopping wasn't anything too special, however, I did somehow totally forget that the main ingredient exists as a shop, despite usually always shopping there, and only managed to get one of the certain ingredients that I needed 2 of, so I'll have to come back at some point. Running from Coral to the Imperial City and back only took me 9 in-game hours, and yes, I did run the whole way and didn't fast travel, as I'm still training athletics. It takes forever to train. Arriving back, I come to the realization that I can only make 1 wine for now, but still proceed to make it, and then slept for a bit before doing this nice little tour of my new castle. So we are going to start here in my private quarters first. Here's my bed, and here's my sneak shoes that I totally didn't just loot off a corpse yesterday. Moving over to my wardrobe area, you can see my very expensive shirt that I purchased in Skingrad, as well as some various books on this drawer here. Over here by the fireplace is usually where I'll eat my meals. On the table we have this shepherd's pie that was home cooked by a goblin chef of the Sharp Tooth tribe that I looted a while back, as well as a bonus sweet roll because why not? Next to my meal is my drink, which is a bottle of Colovian Battlecry, one of Talon the winemaker's specialty wines. In this display case for now is just this enchanted ring. And this is the really annoying castle maid that doesn't leave me alone. Moving past her, we have my personal little library here where I keep the more rare books in my collection. Next is my study where I'll count and measure all my gems, silver, and rings, even gold. Basically all of my riches. And finally, this little eating area, which I haven't done anything special to besides put this sweet cake on the plate here. Leaving the private quarters, we are now in the main lobby. In these two display cases here, which is kind of hard to see due to these freaking torches, are my two Akaviri blades that I purchased in the Imperial City. On this table is just some enchanted equipment I have acquired during my travels, and lastly we have the stuffed Daedroth that I took down with my powerful staff, Apotheosis. Feeling pretty satisfied with my castle for now, I decided to focus on some quests that I've been tasked with completing, specifically finding the Emperor's only remaining heir down in Kavach, so I grabbed one of my men-at-arms for an extra sword in battle and started my trek south towards Kavach. He didn't last very long, however, as we quickly got swarmed by enemies while exploring a cave on the way. Speaking of exploring, I actually did a whole lot of that on my way to Kavach, as I'm now level 20 and all of the loot I received should be of the highest variety. In total, I explored 5 caves, 2 alien ruins, and 1 abandoned fort on my way to Kavach. The first cave I explored, the Wind Cave, had another fancy pair of enchanted shoes to add to my shoe collection. The next cave just had some goblins in it. There wasn't really any interesting loot. However, the goblins were all maxed level warlords, so that was pretty tough to get around. I also got to do another log pile kill, which is always a nice bonus. I did find a goblin shaman down here, despite this goblin tribe not being named, but didn't find any new goblin shaman staffs to keep, unfortunately. I came across this abandoned farmhouse out in the middle of the wilderness named Weatherley that was absolutely nightmare fuel when I stepped inside. Everything was destroyed, bones upon bones littered the attic. Someone got burned alive in the oven, and to top it all off, my game glitched and an item got stuck in the wall, so this creepy noise kept happening. Despite all this creepy environment going on and those horrible vampire nightmares that plague me, I still managed to get some sleep and take a breather from all the fighting and exploring. I awoke sometime in the night and began continuing my journey south to Kavach before coming across a shrine to the Daedric Prince Sanguine. I'm told if I wish to speak to him, I can offer some Cyrodiilic brandy and may be lucky enough to be granted an audience with Sanguine himself. The last and only Cyrodiilic brandy I owned, though, was stolen and taken from those Skingrad guards back when I had to pay my bounty, so couldn't speak with the almighty Daedric Prince just yet. The good news, however, was that this priest dude here is actually a shop owner, and with me hitting expert in mercantile earlier, maybe it's not obsolete after all. I can now sell any type of item to any vendor. This made exploring extremely convenient, as I could just run to this dude whenever I needed to sell my loot. Anyways, continuing on, the next location I looted was an old Imperial fort, Fort Dyric. Nothing too interesting happened here, but the final fight was pretty cool, as it was against both a normal lich and a nether lich. Fingers of the Mountain plus basically unlimited mana potions makes most fights pretty easy now, as I can avoid melee enemies and usually absorb ranged spells. The loot was alright, but I did manage to find 2 bottles of the special Shadow Banish wine that the innkeeper in Way tasked me to find 6 of, so it was nice progress there. Maybe I can find more than 6 and even keep some bottles for myself. Next stop was the old alien ruin Nanungawo. I happened to spot these ruins while up on this hill here and just couldn't help myself. In the main lobby, there was this spike trap here that completely destroyed the Spriggan. I won't point out every bit of interesting loot I get, but wanted to mention that since I'm putting points into luck now, I'm getting a lot more enchanted weapon/armor drops. Oh, also, I saw all these candles while down here in Nanungawo, and it's got me thinking, like, who the hell lit all these anyways? Anyways, I finish up in Nanungawo and head to a nearby bandit camp to get a little rest and level up. After defeating the bandits and going to loot them, I noticed the one had an enchanted elven helmet called the Canopy Helmet that resists magic by a powerful 13%. I did think the loot seemed a bit on the low side when looting Dungeon Gullo. Maybe these bandits got there before me. Also, my guy looks pretty cool, creepy at the same time in all this elven gear. I don't know, maybe I should get some gauntlets or something too. Oh well, after a quick power nap, I continue on exploring, this time a mine called the Echo Mine. Nothing too interesting here, just some bandits to clear out and this wall I had to break to get some loot. On my way out, I noticed all these ale bottles just laying around where I'm assuming the bandit lookout would sit, which I thought was pretty funny. I'm still making my way south, slowly towards Kvatch. However, new places to explore just keep appearing, and soon enough I find myself in another alien ruin by the name of Talonque. Upon entering deeper into the ruin, I hear the bandits fighting someone, which turned out to be this dead orc adventurer here. I can't really remember this happening when playing Oblivion as a kid, so seeing another adventurer exploring ruins along with me was pretty cool. Most of the loot came from the bandit ringleader, who was absolutely loaded. Fortify speed boots, resist normal weapons curious, and reflect damage shield, all glass and light armor as well. I actually opted for my birthright of Astalin curious for the bonus mana, and also my quicksilver boots were better than the lightning run boots, but it was still really nice loot, and I'll definitely be taking it back to my castle to put on display for later. I did come across a bandit who charged at me completely naked, but other than that, that's pretty much all of the ruins Talonque had to offer. I spotted a farmhouse on my map called Shardrock, and upon arrival was attacked by a group of bears. I go speak to the farmer, who looks like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, and he tasked me with exterminating 6 of these bears so the others will leave due to a new predator and hopefully leave his farm and livestock alone. Well, this quest is easy enough, so I set out to find some bears, but instead come across a shrine to the Daedric Prince Meridia. Like the Sanguine Shrine, I must leave an offering in order to be granted an audience with Meridia. However, this time the offering is just any remains of the undead, as I guess Meridia really unlikes the undead or something. After speaking with her, she tasked me with exterminating some nearby necromancers, as you know, she hates the undead and all that. I add it to my ever-growing list of things to do, and then head back to Shardrock to tell Butthead about the good news. He gives me a book as a reward. Stupid Butthead, I already own this book. I finally make it back to civilization, however, it must have been a bit off while traveling, because I end up at Skingrad, which was just a bit east of Kvatch. I stopped in town to sell some stuff, and noticed that one of the Cyrodiil brothers here had one of those Dark Brotherhood hoods on. I wonder if this dude is actually like a secret murderer. Oh, he also mentioned that vintage 399 is like apparently super rare and a once-in-a-lifetime vintage of wine, which I thought was pretty funny because that dude Roland, whose bar I slept in a couple of nights ago, had at least 2 or 3 bottles of vintage 399 that I just chugged without second thought. But yeah, I proceeded to sell all my stuff, and that's when I quit playing for now. Okay guys, well thanks as always for hanging out and checking out some games with me. I'm still working on some more Oblivion content and exploring some games, so be on the lookout for more videos in the future. Thanks as always for watching and have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Much love, Yukai out.